Not the loud kind. Not the lightning flashing, thunder crashing chaos they expected. No, you are the calm kind. The kind of storm that walks in without noise and leaves nothing the same. People don't hear you coming. But when you arrive, they adjust. Their tone, their body language, their story. Because you don't scream, you radiate. And that's what Elon's trying to tell you. Your frequency speaks louder than their noise. Why they fear you now, even if they pretend not to. You don't need applause. Your energy demands respect. They're not confused because you changed. They're panicking because you grew without permission. She used to clap back. Now she sips tea while Karma learns salsa. You're not quiet because you're weak. You're quiet because you know how dangerous you are when you speak. That's why they're scrambling. They're trying to read your new frequency with old programming, and it's frying their circuits. First of all, they can no longer foresee you. Therefore, they are keeping an eye on everything you do. You have no idea how much it bothers them. They used to be able to figure you out. They were aware of the triggers that would cause you to weep, talk, or even blow out. They've never had this amount of inner control before, however, and it's absolutely confusing them. You stop reacting. Not all of your decisions are explained. Drama is not something you entertain. People who formerly believe they know you suddenly feel as if they are facing a complete stranger. They're afraid of you, not because you're dangerous, but because they have no idea what you're thinking, what you're going to do next, or what you're quietly doing. In actuality, when people are unable to foresee you, they feel helpless. You're not intentionally being secretive, which is why you're unpredictable. It's because your behaviors are no longer motivated by insecurity or a desire for acceptance, and you finally connected with your genuine self. Your movements are now deliberate, purposeful, tidy, and minimum. Not because you're concealing, but because you've come to the realization that not everyone should be privy to your process. You operate in silence. That's what makes you better. Because of this, your quiet deeds have a greater impact than their boisterous displays. While you're focused on outcomes, they're out there creating noise to feel important. The worst part is that they are unable to determine if you have already made your big move or are just contemplating it. You are no longer readable, and it makes you a problem in a society full of people who are desperate for control. Those who formerly thought you were unimportant are now wary of your quiet. They search for hints by observing your tone, posture, and even pauses. They are attempting to decipher something that is no longer intended for them. And they secretly knew that the instant you discovered tranquilly, they lost access. Second, you don't only use words when you talk. You also use frequencies. And for that reason, some people feel you without really getting you. You don't want to make a statement when you enter a room, but your energy does. You're vibrating at a level where only the genuine ones can hear you. You're not speaking to be heard by everyone. It's alignment, not arrogance. You have a quality that transcends what is being spoken. People perceive it, but they are unable to articulate it. It's how having you around seems like a reality check. It impacts differently, yet it's not loud or showy. Those who are not paying attention miss the whole message because you communicate via your choices, your energy, and your aura. Some people continue to misunderstand you because of this. When your language is spiritual, intuitive, and deeply ingrained, they are attempting to interpret you using superficial reasoning. You are no longer here to engage in superficial discourse. You address the soul rather than the ego. And that's why some people feel uneasy around you for no apparent reason. Although your frequency revealed something about them, you didn't say anything offensive or disrespectful. Although you didn't confront them, your presence served as a reminder that they had been living out of sync. Your energy does just that. It serves as a compass, a mirror, and sometimes a warning all at once. When you speak, those who are supposed to hear it feel it, not just hear it. Your words awaken, change, and activate. You don't need to talk a lot, however. You don't need to explain anything anymore. When someone who is aware of their own energy uses silence, it becomes a whole language in and of itself, and you have tapped into it. Volume is no longer necessary to make an impression. You're not here to impress, so your tone, your silence, and even your timing tell volumes. Your purpose is to convey. Additionally, the people that are unable of understanding your frequency were never your target audience in the first place. Third, they believed you were silent, but in reality, you were assessing the effect. You were researching every aspect of people's behavior, including their patterns, inconsistencies, and strategies, as they were creating noise and attempting to get attention. You were watching, not doing nothing. You were collecting factual information, not rumors. You saw how others treated you when they believed you were worthless. Behind your back, you listened to what they had to say. You saw right through phony praises and phony grins, yet you saved it all for knowledge rather than retaliation. Your quiet was like a scalpel. You were honing your judgment while others saw you as inactive. You stopped playing games with individuals who didn't have good intentions in the first place, after realizing that talking too much reveals your hand. Now, when you do act, it's not spontaneous, it's precise and surgical. And when you do, people are amazed at how quickly things change. You were loading, not being sluggish. You were waiting. You weren't weak. And now that you've discovered the formula, the pattern, and the blueprint, you're carrying it out with a degree of strength they never anticipated. You now understand how important it is to act before you speak, because deeds speak louder than words, and outcomes are indisputable. This is why people began to feel uneasy about your silence. They are no longer able to read you. They no longer have access to your emotional responses, as you formerly did. Anyone who used to take advantage of your uncertainty or bewilderment finds you dangerous because of that control. Those who undervalued you are now shocked since you were preparing for your next level, while they were busy underestimating your quietness. You don't need to prove anything anymore. You simply do what you're going to do without talking about it. And there is no denying the effect. Your quiet was loud because of it. It was strategy, not absence. They're now seeing the results of a strategy they never envisioned coming together. Fourth, the loudest flex in the room is your self-control. People are uncomfortable with your self-control, not because you're weak or afraid to respond, but because you've come to the realization that not everything is worthy of your attention. Your composure seems dangerous in a society where people are always agitated, defending themselves and seeking an excuse to blow out. When someone doesn't react, flinch, or fall for the bait, people are unsure of what to do. It reveals them. It reveals their lack of emotional self-control. You now understand that not everyone is worthy of using your money, which is represented by emotional responses. You stopped paying it any attention after seeing how drama flourishes when given energy and how chaos thrives on it. You don't move until it's worth it. But you do let others to speak, make assumptions, and attempt to provoke you. And most individuals will never be able to achieve that type of discipline. When someone else is attempting to shake the table, there is a quiet superiority in being planted and not responding. You don't have to use petty comebacks or yelling bouts to prove anything. The instant you choose to prioritize peace above performance, you've already won. And the reason you've set yourself apart from the pack is because you've made that decision repeatedly. You know precisely when not to fight, not that you are incapable of doing so. What they don't comprehend is that individuals anticipate commotion, mayhem, and reprisals. They thus feel inferior when you offer them strategy and quiet instead. They feel vulnerable. Your disinterest serves as a window into their emotional immaturity. And it's not only your silence that frightens them, but the reason behind it. You are strong, not passive. You just know better than to ignite matches in gasoline-filled spaces. You've grown more powerful than any argument could ever be, because you've conquered yourself. The true flex is that they sense it too. They lose control each time you don't answer, and your voice becomes louder each time you maintain your composure. Type Amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. Fifth, you turned into a mirror, and people are unable to tolerate their own image. People are going mad because they have to confront themselves without any filters now that you have turned into a mirror. No one is being called out by you. You're not making fun of them or dragging names. You're simply being yourself. However, the frequency that being conveys is so honest and crisp that it penetrates the layers of masks that other people wear. Your sheer presence compels individuals to face what they have been concealing even from themselves, so you don't need to expose anybody. You carry an unquestionable truth that isn't very loud. It's unavoidable, but not aggressive. Around you, people begin to stumble over their words and get defensive over subjects you never bring up. It strikes that deep, due to the fact that your energy is now reflected. People may see their own shadows, anxieties, games, and falsehoods when they stand next to it. Every one of them comes to the surface. It's because you don't play the game, not because you pointed a finger. Their faking sounds louder, since you're not acting. In fact, a lot of individuals base their whole personality on delusions. They sense that contrast on a soul level when they are around someone like you. Someone who has put in the effort, lives in alignment, and doesn't sacrifice integrity. Their pandemonium is unpleasant because of your calm. Their fracture is evident because of your totality. Where they have remained stationary is shown by your elevation. Becoming a mirror was not your choice. It just occurred when you stopped compromising your identity. Nowadays, people either run away from you or change when they're with you. Some will turn away, accuse you, and describe you as frightening or frigid. However, people are really responding to what you expose about them rather than to you. This is spiritual combat, and all that is needed is presence, alignment, and truth. No noise. And everything fake starts to tremble when you enter with that type of intensity. People are not destroyed by you. Simply cease providing them with a hiding spot. Sixth, you are unexpected due to your restraint, and power thrives in the unpredictable. Everything they believe to be true about you is now in jeopardy because of your restraint, which has transformed you into something they cannot quantify. You could have been easy to read emotionally for a long time. You showed it by wearing your heart out. When you were upset, depressed, anxious, or stressed, everyone could tell. They were skilled at making you question yourself, changing your attitude, and evoking a response. But you are no longer that person. Where you formerly bled, you've developed discipline. You've discovered that the best way to safeguard your energy is to become emotionally less approachable rather than to hide. They are now unable to understand your thoughts, which enrages them. To insults, you don't reply. Clarity is not something you seek. You don't allow turmoil to be used as a bait. Even your blinking has changed over time. They are unable to touch the calm that you possess, which makes them perplexed and angry, since they have no influence over the result if they are unable to foresee you. Restraint is hence strength. It turns you into an unanswerable question. They want to know what you're going to do next. Yet you no longer act impulsively. You don't move on purpose. You've started using your energy purposefully. And because of your deliberateness, you are unpredictable, not careless, but unreadable. The defense is no longer your way of life. You've learnt the skill of not acting on your emotions alone. You observe, measure, wait, and make a decision. And those who formerly took pleasure in your emotional turmoil now have nothing to consume, no breakdowns to watch, no tantrums to make fun of, and no drama to recycle. Your silence is all they see. Additionally, when someone knows they have mistreated you, silence makes them anxious. They are afraid of the unknown because there is no script, no regularity, and no assurance while you are around. The variable they are unable to forecast is you, and it makes you the most powerful person in the room in a society that is fixated on control. You walked off the stage at number 7. They are now yelling at the drapes. You were the one keeping the whole production together, and when you left the stage, it shattered everything. Not because people didn't see the play. Showing up to prove your value, explaining yourself to those who didn't want to understand, and smiling when it hurt, were all things you did for years. And they cheered it on for a while. Not because they were in love, but because they felt valued by your unwavering availability. Their universe made sense because of your performance. Then you stopped, however. You took a step back. You took back your identity, your time, and your energy. It was peaceful, tidy, and under control. It wasn't spectacular or a breakdown. You just walked away, not stormed off. They were so certain that you wanted the stage, the acclaim, and them, that it was this that screwed them up. They're attempting to pull you back in now by screaming at the curtains. Your silence reveals their lack of substance, not because they are concerned about your welfare. They experience the hollowness of their own identity in the absence of your emotional labor, your affirmation, and your energy to revolve around. They used you as a diversion from their dysfunction. Relationships that ought to have ended long ago were kept together by you. And everything began to fall apart as soon as you left, and they couldn't hide it. In reality, what they referred to as you changing was just you being yourself again. They think you're chilly, aloof, and self-centered. Your withdrawal was a recalibration, a return to reality. But that's simply code for you're no longer bending over backwards to keep the illusion alive. For their amusement, you ceased feeding those who applauded only when you were starving yourself. And now that you've stopped talking, they're making more noise than before. But it's terror, not acclaim. Because what your presence couldn't do, your absence accomplished. They had to dwell with their own emptiness as a result. Furthermore, you are not being passive by remaining silent. That's the reverberation of limits in an area that once held your sacrifice. Your life was turned into a code at number 8. It can only be decoded by the genuine. Your life became a frequency that only those who are thoroughly linked can comprehend, rather than a tale you conveyed. You have lost interest in self-explanation. You've outgrown the desire to be understood by those who haven't put in the necessary effort, not because you believe you're superior to others. Your energy now bears an encryption because of how much you've changed. The only people who understand your perspective are those who have had to start again and who have sat in quiet with their own brokenness. What you've endured is not something you publicize. Your metamorphosis is not something you wear like a costume. Now, it permeates every decision you make. Your rhythm, your presence, and your tone. People claim that you have changed, and they are correct. But they treat it negatively since they haven't changed either. They're attempting to connect with a past, non-existent version of you. They label you odd, secretive, and aloof when they can't reach you the way they used to. I find it bothersome because people are really stating, "I no longer understand you." When your life is reduced to a code, that is what occurs. There is less space for surface-level interactions the higher you go. You don't turn folks away. You just don't have the same resonance. You are no longer communicating in trauma bonds. You're not becoming close because of mutual dysfunction, turmoil, or gossip. Only those who have gone through the process can understand the dialect, and you are now fluent in growth. You've become difficult to read because you're living a life that no longer requires performance, not because you're concealing. Attention is not what you're seeking. To be noticed, you're not moving. You're creating, recovering, and changing. And the silent strength underlying your movement can only be understood by others who have experienced comparable storms. You will always seem perplexing to the inauthentic. But you're a signal to the genuine ones. You are evidence that change is achievable. It's not a loud elevation, but it's genuine. Additionally, those who have experienced the fire will immediately recognize the flame you carry.